This for the people still surviving the pressure. Still reading between the lines. Still asking questions. Questions. To the public, then market the cure. Turn pain into profit while the rich get secure. Whole system unstable, but they call it normal. Till the people get loud, now the headlines enormous. Hey. Rent high, checks low, food prices jumping. Kids in debt before adulthood coming, and they wonder why the whole generation disrupted. When the truth too ugly just to dress it up pretty. We don't trust the image, we study the pattern. Every speech sound polished, but the streets say it matter. If justice blind, why the poor feel targeted? Why the rich move reckless and avoid consequences? Look, they built districts crooked and called it political. Cut the school budgets down, but the prisons look beautiful. Every election cycle they rehearse being relatable, then disappear once the cameras ain't available. Healthcare tied to jobs, now survival employment. Miss one paycheck and the whole life get destroyed quick. Student loans stacking while wages stay tiny. CEOs break records while the workers move blindly. And the media addicted to trauma statistics. Term suffering Bible for audience attention. Everybody screaming but nobody listening. Too much performance and not enough intervention. See, they weaponize language to soften the pressure. Call it economic gaps instead of strategic neglect. Call it urban decay instead of disinvestment. Then blame the community surviving the conditions. That's psychological warfare. Smile in your face while they cutting healthcare. Tell you pull yourself up while they moving the staircase. Whole system ganged up, everybody can see it now. And every time the people speak up, they say we divisive, but silence never changed nothing. They sell fear to the public, then market the cure. Turn pain into profit while the rich get secure. Whole system unstable, but they call it normal. Till the people get loud, now the headlines enormous. Hey, rent high, checks low, food prices jumping. Kids in debt before adulthood coming, and they wonder why the whole generation disrupted. When the truth too ugly just to dress it up pretty. Look. Lobbyists write laws while the voters feel powerless. Corporations from both sides for strategic advantages. That's why every debate feels staged and theatrical. Too many empty promises, packages practical. And they keep us distracted with culture wars daily, while billion-dollar contracts move quietly shady. Tax breaks for the wealthy, budget cuts for the needy. Then they ask why the public don't trust them completely. No accountability, only damage control. Everybody playing roles, but the cracks starting to show. Teachers overwhelmed, mental health overloaded. Young people burnt out before life even started. And the algorithm flood the timeline with division. Outrage get rewarded more than critical thinking. Truth moves slow, but propaganda move instantly. Now misinformation spreading professionally. But the people evolving, that's the part they fear. More educated every single year. Now communities talking economics and policy instead of letting politicians shape reality. If freedom only work for certain demographics, that ain't freedom. If justice depend on your income bracket, that ain't justice. And if truth makes power uncomfortable, maybe power deserves questioning. We don't trust the image, we studied the pattern. Every speech sound polished, but the streets say it matter. If justice blind, why the poor feel targeted? While the rich move reckless, then avoid consequences. No fear in the dialogue, no silence in the struggle. We turn pain into pressure, and pressure in the muscle. Hands, eyes open, mind sharp, heart focused. It's more than music, it's documentation. History history never changed because people stayed comfortable. It changed because somebody finally said, enough, 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 enough.
Hey y'all, what's up? It's your girl Golden, and I'm back with another video, y'all. You know how we do during the week. We got to do these updates with our politics. So yes, I'm back with another political video, and we got something else scheduled for a little bit later, y'all. That's going to be more so around celebrity stuff, a little bit more fun. But we got to get into the important stuff first. So hey, Ma, I know you're there. You in the bag. Thank you so much. And what's up, Imani? Imani is going to be moderating today, okay, y'all? So I'm going to do the presentation, and she'll be over here moderating in the chat with Mama. And we both will be back later for, the celebrity awesome stuff. Not really awesome, but, something a little bit more fun. But it is about 11:45 a.m. here Eastern time in the Carolinas. And it is nice outside yet again, nice and warm and sunny. We are having an excellent day over here, y'all. The pool is opening up, so I cannot wait to get over there and get in that pool, y'all. But I hope you all are having a great day in whatever respectful time zone you guys are in. And hopefully y'all having nice weather. The rain, it rained a little bit last night and this morning. And I do not like the rain. I love the sun. But anyway, let me go ahead and tell y'all what we'll be talking about on today's live, okay? We're going to be tracking the massive fallout from institutional corruption and blatant courtroom racism. We have an updated breaking facts on the Texas lawyer who thought he could repeatedly drop the N-word under the guise of evidence. The judge hit him with jail time and fines. We are diving into how Black woman attorney Brenda Durham and local activists stood their ground when it came to that. Also, we have Dr. Cornel West, who is back out, and he delivers a masterclass over on CNN, completely dismantling Scott Jennings on reparations. We also will be covering the CBC and the NAACP's call for Black student athletes to boycott anti-voting rights states. Roland Martin's absolute destruction of Donald Trump and this $1.8 billion from January 6th slush fund is very shady. And he's going to be talking about this IRS deal that is included as well. This is deep dive political commentary, right? With real world context that you will not get anywhere else. Maybe you will, but hopefully you enjoy getting it from over here. So the first topic, y'all, in the first video that I'm going to show y'all, we have to talk about are Black activists that confront attorney after judge hands down sentence for courtroom slurs. The incident took place during a custody modification trial in the Brazoria County Family Court of Texas. Defense attorney Michael Phillips repeatedly used the N-word in a derisive manner during an on-the-record evidentiary argument outside the presence of the jury. Opposing attorney Brenda D. Ruin, a Black woman, fiercely objected, noting the slur was used to taunt and demean. Rather than serve a legitimate evidentiary purpose, Despite the hostile environment, DeRuin's client won the custody battle. Local Black activists, including Cornel West, subsequently confronted Phillips in the courthouse corridors to hold him publicly accountable. Now, the judge consequences. Judge Chad D. Bradshaw officially found Phillips in direct contempt of court for using the racial slur numerous times. Judge Bradshaw sentenced Phillips to 3 days in jail and a $500 fine. The judge suspended the jail time and monetary fine on one strict condition. Phillips must submit a formal written apology to both the court and attorney Brenda DeRuin by June 30th, 2026. If he fails to do so, he goes straight to jail. So, everyday life comparisons. Think of it like a reckless driver hitting someone's car, getting hauled into traffic court, and the judge saying, I am sentencing you to jail and a massive fine right now. However, I will put it on hold on one condition. You write a sincere written apology to the victim you traumatized. If you let your pride get in the way and refuse, the police are taking you straight to a jail cell. And so what effects can this have on the people? This update shows everyday citizens that the legal system can draw a hard line against overt racism when pushed. However, it also highlights the heavy burden placed on minority professionals. For everyday people, watching a Black woman attorney have to fight through racial taunts just to win a standard child custody case proves that systemic bias is still a tax Black Americans have to pay just to do their jobs. It reminds the community that public pressure and unyielding legal objections are mandatory to force accountability. So y'all, per usual, y'all know I had the video to show y'all, so you don't have to take my word for it. We'll listen to a little bit of that. It's a very short, quick to the point video, and then we will be getting into our next topic. So let me go ahead and get this on the screen real quick, y'all. And I'll meet y'all in the chat per usual, and we'll discuss some of this. And I want to know some of y'all thoughts and feelings if you care to share. Yeah, let me get full screen here. All right. And pull that up. And let's get into it, y'all. I'll meet y'all in the chat.
Who decided, well, Black activists confronted him after he decided to use the N-word in court, and the confrontation, classic. Here it is.
Mr. right here. Yeah, that's your ass.
So you don't like saying N-word, right?
Call people.
You gonna call it N-word? I bet you won't call it in front of a Black man like that.
I bet you won't call me.
Let me help you. You call a Black woman N-word, call me that.
No, call me.
I dare you to do it. I swear for God, I'll make you taste the ancestors.
Me too.
You a coward. Call that Black woman the N-word. You a real coward,
Why
man.
would you
We'll
do
catch you
that?
inside.
Now, go ahead.
Go right ahead.
Go ahead.
I guarantee you wouldn't do it in front of me. See, you talk to Black women like that by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You intimidate Black women by themselves. But a Black man, you gonna open your goddamn mouth.
Mm-hmm.
I dare you to say it.
Mm-hmm. That hearing aid.
I dare you to say it.
Mm-hmm. That hearing aid is shit. Get your old ass out. Run around with your bald head ass, your spike little face looking. I ain't playing with you.
For the record, he did not utter the N-word again. Put up the picture full mass. I have a background for you. You're looking at Texas attorney Michael Phillips. Michael Phillips was held in direct contempt of court during a child custody trial after he repeatedly used the N-word while arguing outside the presence of the jury. This took place on May 5th. Brenda DeRuin, one of the attorneys present during the exchange, said, quote, I was deeply disturbed by conduct that occurred during the proceedings when opposing counsel repeatedly used a racial slur in open court under the guise of evidence. Despite the manner and context in which it was presented having no legitimate evidentiary purpose, the attorney said. Quote, the comments were unnecessary, demeaning, and came across as taunting rather than advocacy. Attorneys should be able to advocate fiercely for their clients without being subjected to racially charged conduct that undermines professionalism and dignity in the courtroom, according to the attorney. We have more information, obviously, to bring you. Now, keep in mind, this is an old tactic, rinsed and reused by professionals in multiple arenas, including teaching, where they will utilize the N-word and then claim immunity from the repercussion of the use of that word because somehow they provided the proper context for utilizing the word. As you could see, the attorney did not utilize the word again in context in order to explain himself when he was confronted by activists who are well known in that local area. So despite the incident, the attorney said the jury ultimately returned a verdict in favor of her client. Quote, we remain proud that the focus ultimately stayed where it belonged, the evidence, the law, and the best interest of the child, she said. So Phillips disputed the characterization of the incident in a statement sent to KPRC2 News, saying the comments occurred during a late evening evidentiary hearing outside the jury's presence, while he was objecting to evidence he described as inflammatory. Quote, despite my consistent objection, virtually every single day of the 3-week trial, opposing counsel repeatedly used the N-word with a hard R in the jury's presence, Phillips said. Quote, a statement was made in which the word was recited to the judge about the repeated use of the inappropriate word, not a derogatory statement made towards opposing counsel in any way. Now, you can't talk out of both sides of your mouth. I'm about to show you evidence of a guilty conscience. Phillips apologized immediately for the use of the word. Phillips said he apologized immediately afterward. Quote, an immediate, full, and sincere apology was announced at the first opportunity to everyone present when the N-word statement was made. He said he also accused opposing counsel of using media attention to damage his reputation. Now remember, his words put him in the predicament. He apologized for the use of the word and still wants to proclaim that his use of the word was in proper context. Quote, it is unfortunate that opposing counsel has strategically attracted the media to slander our reputation in an attempt to hold us accountable for a standard to which she does not hold herself, Phillips said. Racial slurs have no place in our court system, regardless of your race. But he admitted to the use of it, immediately apologized for the use of it. He did not provide context as he did in the statement days later. Then blames the black woman for his use and the attention that his use of the N-word brought to his own personal and professional reputation, spoken like a true bigot, in my opinion. He takes full responsibility and no responsibility at the exact same time. There's more, put them up. The two activists that you saw in the video, that's Dr. Candace Matthews, the National Minister of Politics for the new Black Panther Nation. I encourage you to check out some of her videos. And you have Brother X, Cornel X. He has been doing local news there for a long time. He debates individuals in real time. And likely he had his bail money in the left side of his pocket just in case he needed to use it that day. He's an activist and leader with the new Black Panther Nation as well. All right, there you have it. Sharon, he did it, but he didn't do it. And he did it, but he apologized immediately for the offense and said that it is everybody else's fault that attention was brought to his reputation and character because of the use of the N-word.
Always a victim, right? And we're supposed to feel sorry for him because he got the full wrath. He actually didn't get the full wrath. He got what a decent Black man decided to give him, which was a verbal beatdown, and I'm all for it. I watched it probably 56, maybe 60 times last night when I first saw it, Dr. Ritchie. Normally people would say, hey, name calling never works. Don't reciprocate. I don't agree. And I think you had that saying about a highway, and this is exactly what he deserved. And he was stunned, shell-shocked, and seemingly didn't know where or how to get out of this thing. And that's the way it should be. Now he knows how she felt.
Yeah, it was interesting. I mean, the Black female attorney provided the proper context for how it was utilized. She said it very clearly. He was using it in a way that seemed taunting against opposing counsel rather than evidentiary. And once again, I believe her over the guy
100%.
who has decided to blame everybody but himself.
Victim.
We'll bring you updates as they come.
All right, y'all. So I wanted to go ahead and show y'all that video so you could hear for yourselves and see for yourself how all of that went down. Thoughts and opinions. Well, this is not the first time. We can say that. And we know for sure that it won't be the last, right? What I do like about this case in this story is that we are now starting to see a movement and a shift and really applying pressure and consequences for this type of behavior, right? And to think about it, the audacity, I know if Imani was over here, she has another word, but the audacity that this type of language and behavior is happening in a courtroom amongst legal professionals, crazy work, right? Like this is not at a party or at a club or at a bar, not to say if it's in, happening in any of those places that is right. It's in a courtroom. People are trying to conduct legal business to help aid and assist a family in a custody case. And because someone gets in their feelings because they're losing that said case, now this is what you do when you're in your feelings. You call somebody the N-word with the hard R. And again, as we've seen, you can immediately apologize for saying it. Yeah, I said the word. I'm sorry. I apologize. I said it. But there's always that but, right? We don't care about the but. We don't care about the but at all. And then the but follows up with typically excuses and blaming the individual who gets called this word. That is their fault. They triggered or they did something that prompted that person to get so angry and so nasty to call them that word. And it's like, I just can't believe in 2026 that we are still dealing with this. I really cannot. It's mind-blowing to me. But again, y'all, this is where we at. And as we continue to say, and won't stop saying, history just seems to continue to repeat itself. And like every turn that we see. And this is a political life. So the rest of the stuff I'm going to show y'all as well, this is all wrapped around the government, legalities, politics. Structure supposed to be, laws, rights, all of those things, the very place and space where you think that this type of stuff would not happen because of the knowledge that's wrapped around the law. No, because it's not about they're not worried about laws and rights. It's not about that. Never has been when it comes to certain groups of people, right? And that's the thing. Like, a lot of time when it comes to certain groups and races of people, certain laws and rights and stuff that are given benefit from them by default, like default, because it was never created or intended for us. So the respect level when it comes to applying them, upholding them, respecting them, the laws, the rights, they're not going to have the same severity when it comes to that, when it comes to certain races and groups of people, because they were never created with you in mind anyway. But you do happen sometimes, luckily, I guess we would say, to benefit by default. But anyway, y'all, let's move on to the next topic. So the next topic on the docket that we have here is my favorite, my brother, Dr. Cornel West. And he destroys Scott Jennings over reparations debate on CNN. So on live television, conservative commentator Scott Jennings tried to dismiss reparations as an outdated concept. Dr. Cornel West completely shut him down by outlining centuries of free labor, structural wealth extraction, and state-sanctioned systems like Jim Crow and redlining that built American wealth while locking Black families out of it. For an everyday life comparison, imagine two people are running a 100-meter dash. One runner is forced to wear 50-pound ankle weights for the first 90 meters. Right at the very end, the referee removes the weights and says, okay, the race is completely fair now. Just run faster. And then the other runner wonders why the disadvantaged person can't win. The effects on the people. This debate highlights the gaslighting everyday Black Americans face when discussing the racial wealth gap. It reinforces that systemic economic struggles are the result of historical design, not personal moral failures. So let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all. Let me get this up on the screen. And y'all can see and hear for yourselves, Dr. Cornel West going all the way in, y'all, as necessary, as needed. And it is about time. And we know that when it comes to Cornel West, he's always going to tell it like it is. So, yeah, I really enjoyed this. Let's go ahead and get into this video real quick. Let me get this up on the screen. And we'll do some of this partial video and partial audio, okay? So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to meet y'all in the chat. I'll be right back.
You're getting checkmated here because there's just no grounds for justification of this unless you open the gates and you got trillions of dollars for ex-slaves and ex-Jim Crow people. You got 6,000 of the Innocence Project just at Harvard Law School.
So it's unthinkable to give reparations to American descendants of slavery, but we can give reparations to insurrectionists. When I tell you there's nothing that this country does that doesn't surprise me, we do have historical precedents for this. This country gave slave owners reparations, but none to the slaves, the people that actually built this joint for free. Let's get into the clip.
President Trump wants to reward his friends and some of his most notorious supporters with cash using your tax dollars. It is a deal worked out between the Justice Department and the IRS to settle Trump's lawsuits over leaks and claims of unfair treatment. A so-called anti-weaponization fund has been set up to dole out the money to pay Trump's allies who claim they were unfairly targeted by previous administrations. The amount, $1.776 billion, a symbolic nod, of course, to the adoption of the Declaration of Independence. By the way, it is possible the money that's in that fund could be tapped by January 6th rioters.
This is reimbursing people that were horribly treated. It's anti-weaponization. They've been weaponized. They've been, in some cases, imprisoned wrongly. They paid legal fees that they didn't have. They've gone bankrupt. Their lives have been destroyed, and they turn out to be right.
Now, the DOJ says anyone with a claim can file for an apology and a monetary settlement. The settlement says there are no partisan requirements. A group of 5 people will gatekeep the money, and the attorney general will pick them. In this case, that's Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal lawyer. But the president will have the ultimate power to fire any of the gatekeepers. The DOJ claims Trump himself will not receive any payments, but he will get a formal apology. We've got a lot of folks at the table, and this is going to be hot sauce, I can tell already, with the size and the arm crossing. So we're going to start with you, Ms. Anna Navarro. Is this a slush fund to appease his buddies, or is there something that is legitimate going on here?
And the other part you forgot to mention is that there's going to be no transparency, according to them. That they're not going, right, that they're not going to know. We, the taxpayer who are paying for this, are not going to know who this is going to. This is so bad. It is so bad. It's so bad prima facie. It's just bad on its face. But then when you put it in context, in the fact that Americans can't afford gas, Americans can't afford groceries, farmers are going bankrupt all over this country. We are in the middle of a war that's now cost $50 billion. He wants $1.5 billion for a ballroom. He wants hundreds of millions of dollars for an arch. He wants $15 million to paint the reflecting pool. And then you put on top of that now a $1.7 billion slush fund to pay his supporters and the people who feel victimized. I mean, I'm so old. I remember when most Republicans used to balk and be shocked and outraged by the idea of reparations to people who suffered slavery. But we're going to be giving money to January 6th insurrectionists. That part's okay. Yeah, it's disgusting.
Scott, is this reparations?
Look, I think there's a lot about it we don't know. I don't know who's on the committee. I don't know exactly who's going to be applying for it.
The people that Trump approves.
Well, they say anybody can apply for it, and I don't think.
Okay, I'll apply for it. You think I'll get it?
Have you ever been unfairly targeted by the Department of Justice?
I have been unfairly targeted by this administration. Yeah.
Have you been unfairly prosecuted by the Department of Justice?
Are those the people that are going to be in this?
So the answer is no, you haven't. So the issue is, the question is, has anyone in the history of the United States ever been unfairly targeted by the Department of Justice? Of course they have. And there ought to be, just at a top line, a way for people to seek recourse if they have been unfairly targeted. That having been said, this all started by the fact that Donald Trump had his tax returns unfairly and illegally leaked by the IRS. That's where all this started. And he was initially seeking damages for that, which he has given up. He'll receive no money, as I understand it. And now it has morphed into this idea that there have been people that have been unfairly targeted. All of this makes me a little uncomfortable because it's a lot of money and it didn't go through the U.S. Congress. That's number one. Number two, I don't want to see a president necessarily handpicking people to get payments that could.
So the thing that bothers me more so about Republicans, you will never hear Republicans speak about two-tiered justice system. You will never hear them say that the justice system is flawed until they become a victim of the justice system. Don't get me wrong. Should his tax returns been leaked? No, that shouldn't have happened. It takes for these conservatives, these Republicans, to be a victim of the system to understand what other people feel. I will continue to hammer this down. Most Republicans don't have empathy. They don't. And they need to be able to be a victim of it or to experience it to understand it. Black people are.
All right, y'all. So I just want to pause right there to just do a little quick commentary. And also, shout out to My Brother's Ballot. If y'all have not checked out his channel, please do so. He's a really great channel and does really great commentary on, stuff like this, as far as politics, but many other topics as well. And I like his mindset and I like his commentary. So I listen to him quite frequently. So y'all check him out. But I wanted to pause there because I really agree with absolutely everything he said. And honestly, as I sit here, I just be scratching my head and I'm like, we cannot be serious. Like, we must be living, and I really mean this. We must be living in some type of upside down universe or parallel or something, because I just don't understand the words that come out of these people's mouth. how they're able to, convince themselves that what they are standing for, who they are supporting, and the things that are being said and put into place make any type of sense. Like, how can you convince yourself that any of that makes any sense? It floors me. Imani says you can cut healthcare, EBT, inflation, up, people starving, and the people who, had a number 2 in the Capitol building need to be compensated for being unlawful and unruly. Clown show administration. Absolutely. What are they being compensated for? What are they being rewarded for? What good have they done? And then to say that they have been unjustly treated? No. They were treated exactly how they needed to be. Running up in the Capitol, doing all of those things that they did, all from a place of hate, disgusting, nasty, impeccable, just impeccable to me. And these are the ones that can apply now for some type of reward, a financial benefit for their treacherous behavior. Seriously. And then we're getting into it, y'all. We're going to keep going. You want to say that a certain race and group of people do not deserve reparations. They've been tap dancing around that since the beginning of time, as far as they don't see how these people deserve to get their money back, to get compensated for everything that they gave to this country, right? We've got ancestors that left here that they've never seen any justice. They've never seen any appreciation, no fair treatment, no respect, none of that. And you got people that want to argue against the fact that they don't deserve it. But yet these people who wanted to bust up in the Capitol on January 6th and be tyrants, they deserve to be compensated for their struggles. Yeah, reparations are for treasonous behavior, apparently, in their dictionary, because they just make things up and throw them in the dictionary, in the Wikipedia. So apparently that's what reparations are supposed to be for. Treasonous, treacherous behavior. Let's keep going.
Prior to this situation with Trump's tax returns, do you think people like Scott Jennings would give a F? No.
Where he could be accused of just picking people out who are political allies. But do I want a world where if you've been unfairly targeted by the federal government and it was truly unfair and you truly had something done to you that should not have been done, do I think people should be able to seek recourse for that? Absolutely, I do, because I think it probably happens, and not on a partisan basis, but it probably happens all the time. And I think people ought to be able to seek some sort of damages if they've been unfairly targeted by the department or by the federal government.
Like James Comey or Tish
right.
James?
I mean, I guess the question is, you've got this. The overarching thing that has people really riled is the January 6th rioters, some of whom pled guilty. I was in one of the trials for the Proud Boys and for the Oath Keepers, and I watched the whole thing, and I watched it play out, and it played out as any justice, any trial would play out. And here they're pardoned, and they could seek money should they be able to.
My personal view is anybody who committed documented violence against the government or against police officers, they've not been unfairly treated. If they ended up being convicted of a crime because of violence they committed, I got no real sympathy for them. Now, if there were people who were on the periphery that were swept up, over prosecuted, whatever, and they have a way to seek a recourse here, I have less of a problem with that. But I draw the line at violence. If you've committed political violence, if you attack the government building, if you attack police officers, I got real no sympathy.
Scott, you don't have a problem with Todd Blanche handpicking 5 people who Trump can fire at any moment and giving reparations that are then not disclosed to the American people who are paying for this slush fund?
Why do you know it's not going to be disclosed?
Because it says so.
Because it'll be
Public in whole or in part.
I mean, kind of like, like I have an issue with the.
So wait, it is going to be public?
Public in whole or in part.
So this is
there
not
are parts that
There are parts that they could redact. Is
not
what you say,
disclose.
not disclose.
You mean
but
like the
it's not
Epstein files?
private from the judge.
I think that's a great example.
Look, I'll just
I have an issue. I have an issue with the congressional slush fund that has paid
I
out
agree with you. That's all done in
sexual
secret.
claims
Yeah.
with our taxpayer
It's all
funds,
done
and
in
we
secret.
don't know
I
it,
agree.
right? And that should be transparent.
Now, to be fair, as a person that has been watching this for a very long time, if there's one thing Scott has been consistent about, it is the January 6ers. He was not a fan of that. He was against it. Now, if you're a Mr. Patriot, I don't understand how you could support a president that literally gave a blanket pardon to people that had histories of touching children inappropriately, people that have killed police officers, not on January 6th, but literally after they got pardoned. There is a laundry list of people that were pardoned on January 6th that went on to commit more crimes. So that's one. And two, I think Anna is 100% correct. And I don't think a lot of people know this. My fellow brothers and sisters of this lovely podcast, did you know that there is a slush fund for Congress people to pay out settlements to people that they have victimized sexually? That's our money. And they don't have to tell us that they've paid it out. There have been millions and millions of dollars of tax dollars that Congress people pay their victims, and we know nothing about it. And that's what's going to happen with these perceived victims of Trump's allies. And yes, people like me could apply to it, but do you think Trump is going to give me anything if I said that I?
All right, y'all. So we take another quick commentary break. So let's just think about this rationally, right? Let's go down and do some comparisons. All right. So we have Dr. Cornel West is getting ready to hop in the ring real soon here. You'll hear exactly what he has to say. But this is the reparations debate, y'all. Let's take a comparison here. So Dr. Cornel West's argument with reparations, compensating the descendants of enslaved Black and brown people whose forced unpaid labor quite literally built the economic foundation of the United States. Then we have the anti-weaponization fund, this $1.77 billion slush fund. And this is compensating political allies, insiders of the January 6th rioters who actively tried to disrupt the peaceful transfer of power at the United States Capitol. This is how the government responds. Now, to the reparations that Dr. Cornel West is talking about, the government says it's too complicated. It happened too long ago. We don't have the budget. Who would pay for it? How would we even distribute the money fairly? The government's response to the slush fund, a quiet, rapid settlement out of court between Donald Trump and his own DOJ, creating a $1.77 billion taxpayer-funded pool with almost zero oversight. That makes perfect sense. So what does the process look like? As Cornel West is talking about reparations, the process over here on this side is decades of stalled bills like H.R. 40, endless task force, and bitter panel debates just to study the possibility of restitution. The process for the slush fund settled overnight. In 2026 lawsuit over leaked tax returns, a 5-member commission gets total discretion to hand out cash and formal apologies. Wow. So, everyday life comparison. The house that built. Let's take a look at this. Scenario A, okay? We're going to see how backwards this is. Imagine you own a beautiful family home that has been passed down for generations. Now, this is scenario 1. The descendants of the original carpenters and bricklayers who were forced to build the entire house for free, leaving their own families with nothing, come to you and say, hey, your family generated massive wealth off of our ancestors, uncompensated labor. Can we work out a fair deal to balance the ledger? You tell them, sorry, that's way too complex. The paperwork is old and it would disrupt my current budget. Scenario B, the next day, a group of people show up, throw rocks through your windows, try to kick down your front door, and smash your furniture because they didn't like who you invited over for dinner. Instead of making them pay for the damages, you pull $1.8 billion out of the family bank account and say, you know what? You guys must have felt really stressed out and targeted when the police investigated you for breaking my windows. Here is a massive cash payout and a formal apology. It's completely upside down. The people who sustained and built the infrastructure are told the pockets are empty, while the people who tried to tear it down are told the vault is wide open. Like, can somebody make it make sense for me? Because I'm really losing it. I'm really losing it here. Is there any common sense anymore? Sense ain't so common anymore, is it? It's nothing rational. Nothing rational about this administration, like, at all. But let's play some more of the video. It's almost done. We're about halfway through here. And we got to get to Cornel West part because he about to go all the way in. And you know he can explain it and break it down way better than I can. So let's keep going here.
Was victimized against his government or his DOJ? No, it doesn't happen that way.
Parent, it is shameful that it's not. It is ridiculous that we are even considering this in any way a right thing to do.
Look, I think transparency is important, and I'll
yes,
but I do think partisanship aside, politics aside, people are often, have been, will be treated unfairly by the federal government and the Department of Justice. There were certainly people during the Biden years, pro-lifers sitting, praying quietly on sidewalks who were treated unfairly. So, look, I don't think we could say the federal government and the Department of Justice is perfect. It is not perfect. And if somebody did have something happen to them that's unfair, are you saying they shouldn't be able to petition their government for some sort of recourse here? Because I do believe that.
But
now, whether the fund is the right thing, I don't know.
At a state level, at a federal level, people who have been unjustly targeted. I mean, we see it all the time with people who've spent, I don't know, decades in prison, and it turns out that they are innocent.
It happens.
And then all of a sudden they get out. They're proven innocent and they are given reparations.
But this fund will not be for those people.
Cornel West, how do you see this? I mean, could the King family come back after what happened to Dr. Martin Luther King being jailed? I mean, how do you see this playing out?
Well, first, I just want to salute you, Sister Sarah. First time I get a chance to meet you, high-quality journalists, just like you and Abby. It's high quality. It's always a blessing. But I just want to hear my dear brother Scott try to rationalize this in some way. And I see you're getting checkmated here because there's just no ground for justification of this unless you open the gates and you got trillions of dollars for ex-slaves and ex-Jim Crow people. You got 6,000 of the Innocence Project just at Harvard Law School of people who've been incarcerated. And you got 2.2 of mass incarceration. I've been blessed to teach in prison for 49 years. Now, tomorrow is Malcolm X's birthday. He's 101. What is it about Malcolm? Well, what we're talking about is this is just the peak of an iceberg. When you're living in an empire that is unraveling because the hatred and the greed is overwhelming. And so there's no sincerity, there's no integrity, there's no character. So people will justify anything in the name of power and might as opposed to integrity and what is right. That's a spiritual crisis. That's a moral crisis. Malcolm X was right about that. I was glad to see his face on that magnificent banner down there in Alabama when they marched in Selma and Montgomery. Martin was there, Fannie Lou Hamer was there, but it's not a question of skin pigmentation. It's a question of character, integrity, and the attempt to do what is right. There's no integrity in justifying $1.8 billion of people who engaged in criminal activity actually kill some policemen. And they get compensated, they get reparations, and black folk, indigenous folk, other folk, unfair, even white brothers and sisters who have gone to jail innocent, who deserve some kind of accountability. There's no way you can justify this. But this is just one peak of an iceberg. What we're seeing is spiritual sickness, moral decrepitude, and political corruption on steroids. But the good news is you still got folk in the country who are trying to exemplify some integrity and character and courage.
Peter, is there
Now, Dr. Cornel West is 100% correct when he said this is just a peak of the iceberg of people that have no integrity. At the end of the day, this is where I might piss some of you guys off. A Trump presidency only makes me angry, not at Trump, not at conservatives, but it makes me angry with Democrats. And you may ask, why would you get angry with the Democrats? Trump's in office. What do the Democrats have to do with this? From Trump 1.0 to Trump 2.0, we have literally seen him change the fabric of this country with executive orders, with breaking norms and rules and laws. And that is to only help a very small, minute population. It doesn't help poor white people. It only helps rich people. It doesn't help poor white people. It helps rich people. And then when we get Democrats in office, all we hear is, my hands are tied. The parliamentarian wouldn't allow me to raise the minimum wage. Oh, it's Christian cinema. There's always 1,000,001 excuses to not help the people or push forward policies or do an executive order as to why you can't help people. Left-wing policies, Democratic policies help the majority of this country. The only people that those policies wouldn't help would actually be the rich people, because we would hopefully tax them into oblivion. But right-wing policies only help a small few of people. And somehow Trump is always able to push his agenda. Meanwhile, we have shows like this that you have people on the left losing their mind because Trump was able to get his agenda pushed through. But why don't Democrats leverage their power? But somehow Trump is able to push his agenda, but Democrats, hands are always tied by the rules. It almost makes you feel like, do you even want to get this done?
And to you also, Sabrina, is there a way to fight this? Because there has to be someone who's injured by this, right? So the public, the general public, who can say, hey, these are my tax dollars, they're not really considered.
Oh, if only the taxpayers had a claim against frivolous spending by the government. That would be a wonderful thing to have. No, I mean, the Trump administration is going about this all wrong. The way you're supposed to do is you're supposed to have folks set up a nonprofit, and then you either have a company do the third-party payments into the federal government for leniency, or you just allocate tax dollars from like the Inflation Reduction Act, and that goes to your political allies. That's how you button it up, you make it legal, and you avoid all of this. But to your point, like on the historic discrimination, I mean, there was $2 billion in the Inflation Reduction Act that was allocated for Black farmers in the South who had been historically discriminated against by the USDA. Like, there have been tons of programs that have done this. I think there's a very legitimate claim, and let's be very clear, I agree with Scott. We're not talking about, and if they are, I condemn it, money going to folks who violently assaulted police officers. I know folks who were at January 6th, broke no laws except they were on the side of an invisible line, did not enter any building, were not violent, whose lives were upended and ruined, where other folks who were maybe not at the same political persuasion, who had committed, similar minor offenses, weren't even charged or didn't even have those charges brought up. So I think it's important that there is parity. And if there was an overcorrection or an over, exertion in one direction, that tilt back towards the center.
Can I just say that we're talking about nearly $1.8 billion to the same president that said the U.S. government can't afford to pay for Medicare, Medicaid, childcare, or daycare. So I think there are a lot of, and now you have on top of that the gas crisis where people are paying, over $1.50 than they were before the war started. So I think
Exactly, right? So let's go ahead and take a quick commentary break. So basically, you have to understand too, the effects that this is having on everyday people like me and you. This dynamic doesn't just create political noise. It has a deeply exhausting effect on the psyche of everyday Black, brown, and working class Americans, okay? We have to talk about the economic gaslighting. Working class families are currently struggling with an affordability crisis. There are high gas prices and grocery bills. Watching the government effortlessly manifest nearly $2 billion in taxpayer money to hand out to political allies proves that the narrative of government scarcity is a lie. The money exists. The political will to spend it on marginalized communities is what doesn't exist. They just don't want money to go where they don't want it to go, and they don't want it to go to who they don't want it to go to. Let's keep going with some of the video. I'll be right back.
When you look at this giant slush fund of money, I think people are going to look at that and say, well, what about me? What can the government do for me? And this is not going to benefit people. So I think
when did he say we can't afford Medicare or Medicaid?
He said they've cut it, and he also
for non-citizens.
We
can't afford
it
for non-Americans.
He did say
we can't
that
afford
we
it for
cannot
non-Americans.
afford push to the states to pay for, and that the federal government could further subsidize. But he did also say that the federal government cannot afford daycare and childcare for millions of families all around the country. So I think when you look at a slush fund of this magnitude, people rightfully are thinking that's absolutely egregious. I mean, it is.
But does everybody here agree generally that it is possible for the federal government and the Department of Justice to make a mistake?
Absolutely.
Sure. Yes.
But not just a mistake, it can be chronic. It can be institutional.
I totally agree with you. So if we all agree that mistakes can be made,
that's right.
Do we all also agree that maybe it ought to be there ought to be a way for people to address those mistakes? I personally think.
Oh, absolutely. That's why I've supported reparations for Black people for the last 50 years.
Transparency and a board
that's what the argument is. That's what the argument is.
Well, I mean,
what do you mean? Why? Like it's not an impartial board.
Why would the executive branch not be involved in the administration of it if it's coming out of the Department of Justice?
I think what you were arguing is transparency, so that we know where the money goes.
Yeah. I agree with that. Right. So if you know where the money goes and you know what the details of the cases are, then maybe you could pick each individual case apart. Peter is right. There were some people who did terrible things, committing violence against cops, terrible. But there were some people who got swept up in things, dramatically overcharged, and they weren't treated the same as people who got into similar situations under other administrations. That's absolutely also true. Should they not have a way to get their lives back?
But it's also true that the first act that this man did as president is issue a blanket amnesty and pardon for all of them. Not look at it case by case, not look at the ones that have been violent against police, which you say you condemn, but do it in a blanket fashion. And so that's not a good precedent for somebody who wants to issue reparations to people from January 6th.
I mean, they have been pardoned, so technically they could file for this and potentially get money, and there's a lot there. So we'll have to wait and see what this happens. But if we don't know who's getting it, then no one's going to understand exactly who is getting a piece of the pie. There's a lot of questions here. I think
I love transparency.
We haven't even talked about the constitutionality of it. You alluded to it. Congress has the power of the president.
It is a question. It is a question.
It's a big one. All right, we all agree on that one thing, so I'm going to leave it right there. Next,
Now, all of a sudden, Scott Jennings understands that the government institutions can have systemic issues around race and bias. Funny how that realization only seems to click when they talk about the innocent January 6 people who were supposedly just standing on the sidelines, and now they deserve reparations because they got swept up. Because let me tell you the truth. If that had been a Black Lives Matter protest at the Capitol, nobody would be talking about sympathy, nuance, or reparations. I remember watching January 6th live thinking, if this were a BLM protest, people would be dead. It would not just be one protester. There would have been bloodshed all over the place. And deep down, everybody on that panel knows that. And for Scott to be sitting next to Cornel West and say, I think we all can agree what you're trying to tell me. You're trying to tell me that you don't think the government can get it wrong. And Cornel West is like, do you know who you're talking to? I think it's actually systemic. I think it's chronic. Like, what are we talking about here? Oh, guys. But anywho, guys, I hope you enjoyed this quick video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. It is your boy Poe Theory on My Brother's Ballot. Peace.
All right, y'all. So that was that video there. I wanted to just go ahead and show that to y'all. We're going to take a quick song break, and then we're going to get into our next topic, and I have some final thoughts on that, okay? So I will be right back, y'all. Give me just a second.
Yeah. Ain't no more quiet now. Nah. Tell him run that back. I said the truth get froze. Big talks online, but they hearts stay cold. Still fighting for rights that was promised long ago. We ain't your silence, we ain't your fear. Every time they shut a door, we appear. From the city to the globe, here the people get loud. You can bury one voice, but you can't stop the crowd. Yeah. I'm from the side where the pressure make diamonds, where mothers pray hard cause the system stay violent. Kids learn trauma before they learn signs. Politicians campaign while communities dying. Look, everybody tweeting, everybody streaming, everybody woke till the camera stop beaming. Truth don't trend when the money intervening. That's why the real ones exhausted and screaming. Big change, fake morals, podium capping. Whole lot of hashtags, ain't nobody action. Trying to sell the vision with celebrity distractions. Meanwhile, rights disappear through strategic reactions. Close schools, close polls, close cases. Still see hate written all on their faces. History repeating, just switching the phrases. Different decades, same games, new stages. And they wonder why the people don't trust. Every headline feel dangerous to us. Every promise turned dust, but we still rise up, 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 rise up. Hands up, head high, 10 toes. They monetize pain while the truth get froze. Big talks online, but their hearts stay cold. Still fighting for rights that was promised long ago. Hey, we ain't your silence, we ain't your fear. Every time they shut a door, we appear. From the city to the globe, here the people get loud. You could bury one voice, but you can't stop the crowd. Yeah, now everybody playing God with the algorithms, programming narratives and calling it the system. Who decides truth? Who decides wisdom? If the future artificial, who protect the children? Too much rage in the timeline scrolling. Young minds vulnerable, anger overloading. Everybody radical when the fear keep growing and the world stay tense while the missiles stay loaded overseas. War drums, contracts get signed. Oil, power, money always hide behind pride. More folks pay while the billionaires glide. And the news turn trauma into primetime vibes. Talk peace with a smirk while the stocks go up. Tell the working class, hold on, but enough is enough. People tired, people broke, people fed up. Still they call us angry every time we stand up. Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up. Listen, it's bigger than left or right, bigger than red or blue. People just wanna live, people just wanna breathe, people just wanna matter. But every generation gotta drag justice uphill, while somebody profits off the chaos. That's the part they don't say out loud. Hands up, head high, 10 toes. True hit harder when the beat line rolls. Can't sell fear to a soul that knows. Power to the people, let the whole world know. We ain't your silence, we ain't your shame. If the people wake up, everything changed. From the city to the globe, hear the whole crowd roar. You can't dim light when the spirit want war. Rise up, even when they try to divide us. Rise up, even when the pressure find us. Yeah. Still here, still loud, still fighting. Love.
All right, y'all. So thanks for rocking with me with that quick little song break. I had to get some things in order in the house, child. The dogs is running around. Get JJ a snack. Mama just left her appointment. So, we got to multitask sometimes. But anyway, before we get into our next topic, I did want to go back and, just tap into the effects on this on everyday people. So we already talked about the economic gaslighting. We also got to talk about the weaponization of law and order. So for decades, minority communities have been told to trust the legal system and that if you break the law, you face the consequences. Watching individuals who committed federal offenses on camera now line up to apply for government restitution completely obliterates the concept of equal justice under law. It tells everyday people that the rules apply strictly to them, while a financial safety net exists for the powerful. Dr. Cornel West's performance on CNN was brilliant because he refused to let the anchor trivialize the economic struggle legacy of Jim Crow and redlining. But when you couple his argument with the reality of this new $1.77 billion fund, it exposes the raw truth. America has never had an issue with the concept of payouts. It only has an issue with who qualifies to receive them. If y'all want to watch that entire interview, y'all can go on over to CNN on the PBS NewsHour report, and you can watch it from beginning to end. They'll get into that a little bit deeper. But we're going to go ahead and move on to the next topic that I have on the docket for the live, y'all. And we got to talk about the CBC and the NAACP is calling on athletes to boycott public colleges in states hostile to voting rights. Now, here's the breakdown. The Congressional Black Caucus, the CBC, and the NAACP are urging high-profile Black student athletes to stop playing for public universities in states that actively pass voter suppression laws and dismantle DEI programs. The message is, do not give your athletic labor millions in revenue and championship trophies to states that don't respect your own civil rights. Our everyday life comparison we can take from this. Think of it like a highly skilled master chef refusing to cook for a restaurant owner who actively lobbies to take away the chef's health care and basic human rights. The effect that this has on the people. It forces student athletes to weigh their sport dreams against community solidarity. On a larger scale, it hits hostile states directly in their wallets and cultural pride, proving that economic leverage is a massive tool for social justice. So let's go ahead and get into this video, y'all. I thought this was really powerful to see, because these are the things that we need to start encouraging our youth and teaching them about, is knowing their worth. And one of the things is that we see regularly when it comes to Black and brown people, they're willing to take your labor. They're willing to take your skills as their entertainment and utilize them, participate in them. But then when it comes to caring about your well-being, they vote against it. They don't have any type of time or respect to give to it because they don't care about you. They only care about what you can do for them and what they can get from you, not how they can help you and what they can give back to you. So let's go ahead and listen to a little bit of this, y'all. This is the actual speech here. And this is, like I said, the CBC and the NAACP calling on athletes to boycott public colleges in states hostile to voting rights. And this is right on Representative Jeffries' YouTube channel, y'all. So I'm going to go ahead and get this video up real quick. And we will listen to this together and commentate as we go. It's a little long, so we'll, break it up in parts per usual like we do. But yeah, I think that this is absolutely what needs to happen. And we don't just stop at the colleges. The pro athletes, they need to do the same. I really believe that. I really, really believe that. But let's get into it, y'all. We'll get it started, and I'll meet y'all in the chat.
You ready? Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. Let me thank the members of press for joining us here today. Let me thank my colleagues of the Congressional Black Caucus and our athletes. I'm Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke, Chair of the Congressional Black Caucus for the 119th session of Congress and proud representative of New York's 9th Congressional District, Central and Southwest Brooklyn. I want to thank our House Democratic leader, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries of Brooklyn, my CBC colleagues, Derek Johnson of the NAACP, and Brandon Copeland, CEO of athletes.org, for their leadership and presence here today. Yesterday, amid unanimous opposition from the Congressional Black Caucus, the SCORE Act was pulled from the House voting schedule.
That's right. Yay.
We want to be clear. The issue was never simply about one bill. As the CBC made clear in letters to the Southern Southeastern Conference, Atlantic Coast Conference, and the National Collegiate Athletic Association. The issue is whether institutions that benefit from Black talent, Black labor, and Black communities are willing to speak out when Black political power is under attack. In the wake of the Supreme Court's Calais decision, states across the South have moved rapidly to redraw congressional districts in ways that dilute Black voting strength, weaken Black representation, and undermine decades of hard-fought civil rights progress secured through the Voting Rights Act. For generations, Black athletes have helped build college athletics into one of the most powerful and profitable industries in American life. That's right. The success, visibility, and cultural influence of major athletic conferences and institutions are inseparable from the talent, labor, leadership, and cultural contributions of Black communities. Yet, at this very moment, those same communities are facing coordinated attacks on their democratic representation. Too many leaders across college athletics have chosen silence. To be clear, Black political representation is not a side issue, and this is not politics as usual. This is a defining moral moment for our country. The Congressional Black Caucus cannot support legislation benefiting major athletic institutions that continue to remain silent while Black voting rights and Black political power are being systematically dismantled across the South. Institutions that profit from Black talent and Black communities have a responsibility to stand with those communities when their fundamental rights are under attack, whether in college athletics, corporate America, or any other institution within American civil society. Let this serve as an example. Silence from our institution in moments of injustice carries consequences. We are calling on American institutions to stand with us, meet this moment with courage, clarity, and conviction. History will remember who chose to stand for democracy and equal representation and who chose silence. The Congressional Black Caucus will continue to fight to protect Black voting rights, defend fair representation, and ensure that our democracy works for all people. Now is the time to join in the fight.
That's right.
It is now my honor to bring to the podium the Democratic leader of the House of Representatives. Okay, I'm going to pause on that. And I'm going to bring the president and CEO of the NAACP, Mr. Derek Johnson.
I want to thank Chairwoman Clark and all of the members of the CBC for standing on integrity. In this moment when Black representation is under attack, it is important for the CBC to keep in their tradition of being the moral of the Congress, but the moral of conscience of this country. No representation, no revenue, no one Black should be on a playing field of institutions that's living off of our labor, and yet in states that are seeking to reinstitute a sharecropping reality. It is not the responsibility of Black America to hold individuals who should know better accountable for doing better. As soon as the United States Congress stand united to ensure our Constitution represent all of us, we will be a better nation as a result. NAACP this morning, in solidarity with the CBC, we are calling on athletes who are coming out of high school not to attend any state-funded schools of states that have moved to minimize our right to vote, to minimize our ability to elect candidates of our choice, and states that are seeking to create a sharecropping reality. Whether that state be Missouri or Mississippi, whether that state is South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, or Florida. 55% of all African Americans live in the former Confederate South. But the 55% of us who live in the former Confederate South, we will not tolerate a Confederate mentality on our labor, on our ability to contribute, and our ability to be to have representation. In this moment, our democracy is in crisis. This is not about partisanship. This is about true representation. And for the NAACP, we will fight with all we have in solidarity with the Congressional Black Caucus to ensure that we have representation, or if we don't, we will withhold the talent that play on the football field or on the basketball court, be them men or female, in this moment. I want to thank the caucus for standing strong. With the NAACP, we are in this fight and we're not going anywhere.
All right. And now it's my distinct honor and privilege to bring to the podium the House Democratic leader, Representative Hakeem Jeffries of Brooklyn, New York.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Let me thank Chairwoman Yvette Clarke for her tremendous leadership and for convening us today alongside NAACP President Derrick Johnson. We're so thankful, President Johnson, for your leadership, for your courage, for your strength in this unprecedented moment of attack. And it's an honor to stand with members of the Congressional Black Caucus, as well as former athletes committed to this cause in getting this egregious situation turned around. This is an unprecedented moment featuring an unprecedented attack on Black political representation, and therefore it requires an unprecedented response.
That's right.
We are here standing in solidarity with the NAACP and its call for athletes to boycott institutions within the SEC that belong to states that have unleashed these Jim Crow-like racially oppressive tactics.
All right, y'all. So I just wanted to go ahead and pause that right there and do, some more commentary. So I did think about one thing that crossed my mind. And like I said, I've had conversations, frequently and regularly, with friends and family. I have nieces and nephews. I have friends that have, children that are, high school age, about to get out of high school, looking for colleges and ready to go to college. And I did want to bring one thing up that I think is fair for us to be able to converse about, because we have to talk about all sides of it. Now, number one, I do believe that, a level of, pride, knowing your worth, and activism is very necessary. And I think it is something that we do need to be teaching our children, whether they're young, we can start with them early. And of course, if they're at the high school and going into college age, they are old enough to understand and probably are now paying more attention to politics more than ever, right? I know during the 90s and stuff, when I was in school and a teenager, preteen and stuff, I was not thinking about and paying attention to politics. I just got to be honest about that. It wasn't as trending to do. But I do like that right now, like in 2026 and the younger generation now, they are very heavily embedded and pay close attention to politics and how it affects us, right? On our families and the students. It affects them as well, as far as, tuition costs and all of those things. But this is one thing that I did want to say when it comes to the paradox, right? We're talking about boycotting, athletes that need to boycott, okay? Now we know, like we're seeing, the NAACP is launching this out of bounds campaign specifically targeting flagship public universities in southern states like Alabama, Georgia, Florida, and Texas over gerrymandering voting maps. But this is what I wanted to kind of make a comparison of. Student athletes will be put under a lot of pressure when it comes to this, okay? So number one, financial security. Living on fragile year-to-year name, image, and likeness deals or basic scholarships. One single wrong move or injury can ruin their entire future before it even starts, okay? Now, also when it comes to student athletes, risking their dream of making it to the NFL or the NBA, if an 18-year-old recruit boycotts a major SEC or ACC school, that school just moves on to the next recruit. And, you know, some of these kids and some of these teenagers may lose a life-altering opportunity. We understand that. Individual student talent is fragmented. Unless every single five-star recruit coordinates a massive strike, a lone teenager sitting out just harms their career sometimes, right? And we know that there are some of our kids and stuff and the youth very heavily into athletics, right? Whatever those that athletic choice may be of theirs, right? Whether it's football, basketball, gymnastics, cheerleading, on and on and on. And it is very important to students sometimes. They even start as young as elementary school when they have like a passion or whatnot towards a certain sport, and they and their family may have a vision for them to keep growing. And as they get older and older and older and better and better and better in this sport, the goal a lot of time is for them to take it to the professional level. And what can better their chances of doing that can be sometimes the colleges and the teams that these colleges have can propel, you know, like their athletic career forward. So I do think it's a lot of pressure to put on student athletes. Now, one of the things that I would say is when it comes to athletes boycotting, I think that we should actually pinpoint the pro athletes to boycott, right? Because what do they have? Well, most of them have financial security. Most of them are sitting on multi-million-dollar guaranteed contracts, corporate endorsements, and generational wealth. Because they pour that money, if they are good with their money, they might pour that money into businesses and things of that nature that, you know, can help them later on. Now, a strike or a boycott is not really going to threaten their next meal or their lifestyle, right? Also, zero risk to career survival. If LeBron James or Patrick Mahomes speaks out or refuses to play an exhibition game in a hostile state, the league has to listen because they are the product. They typically are the ones that, the main ones that people are coming to see and make the whole show really go. And so if they boycott, they hold more leverage. You know what I'm saying? So massive institutional power through established players associations like the NBPA or the NFLPA, they can shut down the entire broadcast networks and billionaire owners overnight because they hold that level of weight and power as a professional athlete. However, you know, it will boil down to people's personal choice, right? There are some students that's like, yeah, I'm all for it. I will boycott. And they may have parents that's going to support them to do that. But there also may be parents and students that may not be willing to take that risk, you know, because they do have, yes, baby, I got you. They do have, you know, yes, baby, I'm going to get it for you. Let me finish my statement. I'm going to get it. They do have dreams to go pro. I just wanted to say that. But let me continue with some of this speech and we'll be right back. I can get this boy some chicken nuggets.
Which is unacceptable, unconscionable, and un-American. And we believe that the silence of these institutions is complicity. That's right. And we will not stand for it. At the same period of time, the Congressional Black Caucus strongly and uniformly opposed the so-called SCORE Act, resulting in Republicans having to pull the SCORE Act from the floor. And we will continue to oppose it. We will continue to stand with the NAACP in encouraging athletes in our community to look elsewhere until these racially gerrymandered maps in the South are reversed, buried in the ground, never to rise again.
Yes.
With respect to the SCORE Act, our position has been clear. If LSU is for it, we're against it. If the University of Alabama is for it, we're against it. If Ole Miss is for it, we're against it. If the University of South Carolina is for it, we're against it. If the University of Tennessee is for it, we're against it. And if the SEC schools are for it, we are against it. And we will continue to stand against it because we're standing on the side of liberty and justice for all. And silence in this moment is complicity. The African-American journey in this country has been characterized by moments of progress followed by moments of backlash. We had the progress of emancipation and Reconstruction followed by the backlash of Jim Crow. We had the progress of the civil rights movement followed by the backlash of mass incarceration. We had the progress of Barack Obama's election and the rise of a multi-racial democracy followed by the election of Agent Orange and the rise of MAGA extremism and Project 2025. Progress followed by backlash. And for us to get through this moment of backlash and usher in a new era of progress, as has been done by generations in the past, it's going to require character, it's going to require courage, and it's going to require conviction. This is a Bill Russell moment.
That's right.
It's a Muhammad Ali moment.
That's right.
And it's a Jackie Robinson moment.
That's right.
And we're going to stand together to make sure we bring about the type of country that the African-American community deserves and that everyone in the United States of America deserves. And so if you believe in a multiracial democracy, join us. If you believe in free and fair elections, join us. And if you believe in fair Black political representation in the South and all across America, join us. Welcome to what I've started to call Project 42, which is we're going to make sure that we battle through the turbulence, the trials and the tribulations of this moment, push back aggressively against the racial gerrymandering that is taking place. And I'm confident, though it won't be easy, if we continue to stand up and show up and speak up for what we know is right, one day soon, we shall overcome. It's now my honor to yield to Brandon Copeland, CEO of athletes.org and a former NFL player and a leader in this fight.
Thank you. Well, thank you, everybody. First and foremost, I want to thank the Congressional Black Caucus, thank Chairwoman Yvette Clarke, thank the NAACP for standing alongside athletes in this moment of time, in this moment of history. The SCORE Act specifically was a tool to suppress rights, suppress constitutional rights that athletes have won over this century. And ultimately, although the schools and the universities will push and try to market them as the way to save college sports and save college athletics, it's really ways to save them from having to compensate athletes, to provide them with adequate health care, to provide them with benefits, and to provide them with rights. It's really a control mechanism. Prevent them from transferring, prevent them from maximizing their college opportunity like every other student on campus gets an opportunity to do. And so when you look around this country, that same tool is being used to suppress our voices, suppress our votes. And athletes.org, as the Players Association for College Athletes, we stand tall alongside our athletes, but also alongside our mothers, our uncles, our aunts, our cousins, and everyone in this nation who deserves a voice. Because unfortunately, the people in control, the people in power or think they have power, they don't think that we are strong enough to unite, to take a stand, to stand in solidarity with each other. But as somebody mentioned, this is an incredible moment in history where the people who a lot of folks like to call kids as college athletes, the young adults who actually generate billions of dollars of revenue, second to only the NFL, right? Generate $19 billion in revenue in 2024. The NFL did $23 billion. The NBA did $12.25 billion. The MLB, $12.1 billion. So these kids who are really young adults are now locked in on this battle and locked in on making sure that they have a voice and real representation at every seat at the table. And so we are proud to be alongside you guys. And again, we're proud to not only fight for our voices as college athletes, but also the voice of those who would otherwise be suppressed. Again, our mothers, our aunts, our cousins, our uncles. And again, this is just the beginning. So thank you.
We're going to hear from a few of our athletes. Jackson Pruitt of Temple University.
All right. How's everybody doing?
We're good.
My name is Jackson Pruitt. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. I play football at Temple University in Philadelphia. First, I just want to thank the Congressional Black Caucus and athletes.org for inviting me to be here today. As a college athlete, I've seen the highs and lows of college sports. I've seen people go through things. I've experienced things, and I've had to go through situations that I just haven't had representation for. And here today, I just want to talk about too often the conversations about our futures and about what takes place on the field. We don't have a say in. And all we're asking for is an opportunity to be represented at the table, a seat at the table, and get a chance to speak about things that are going on. Because at the end of the day, us as athletes, we are only the people that experience what is going on in this time currently. And it's just very important that people hear what athletes have to say, because there are a lot of things that go on behind closed doors that's not shared to the media, that's not shared to the public. And it's so important as all of us as athletes and as athletes.org that we continue to push for player representation and some type of player union that gets us what we deserve, and what we just want is a seat at the table. Thank you.
Thank you. Great job. Great job. We'll now hear from Vince Uwachukwu. Hold on. Vince Uwachukwu of Georgetown University.
Thank y'all for having me. My name is Vince Uwachukwu. Thank you to the Congressional Black Caucus, the NAACP, and athletes.org for inviting me here today. From my experience as a college athlete, I know athletes need representation. We are making serious decisions about our health, our education, and most importantly, our futures. And many of us don't always have the guidance that we need. The answers have to be fair and balanced. Athletes, schools, and people who love this game all have stake in this right. And this is an important moment for everyone to come together to find a common ground. And again, I appreciate the chance to be part of this conversation that we are having today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. And it's now my honor to bring to the podium Representative Troy Carter, first vice chair of the Congressional Black Caucus.
Right, Troy. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you all for being here. First of all, I want to thank all of you, all of my esteemed colleagues, all of the leaders that are here, and certainly our Congressional Black Caucus Chairwoman, Yvette Clarke, and our illustrious leader, Jeffries, for convening this important gathering. I'm Congressman Troy Carter, and I proudly represent Louisiana's 2nd Congressional District. Equal and fair representation must be upheld in every aspect of American life, whether in SEC, the ACC, or the halls of Congress. We cannot celebrate excellence in the African American community on the playing field while ignoring African Americans' representation at the ballot box. It's just that simple. This is bigger than sports. This is about democracy. This is about fairness. This is about whether every community in America will have an equal voice and will have equal opportunity to be heard. History is watching, and the Congressional Black Caucus will continue to stand firmly on the side of justice, fairness, and full representation for all people. So if you love justice, if you love fairness, if you love equality, join us. Join us, because this battle is for the core of our community, of our society, and of our democracy. And the Congressional Black Caucus will not be silent.
Right. Thank you. We were joined by Senator Lisa Blunt Rochester, who is on the Committee of Jurisdiction in the United States Senate for the SCORE Act. We are unified as a CBC. 4 of our members are in the United States Senate, and the rest of us are in the House. Let me thank my colleagues, because it's sweltering out here. Many of them have comments to make, and I hope that you, members of the press, will make sure that you interface with our members before they dash off. But I'm going to ask at this moment if there are any questions. Just state your name and your outlet.
Given the success of the Target boycott, can you speak to perhaps how this has built momentum or informed this boycott? And in this moment of reckoning, we've learned to also advocate not just for voting rights protections, but also reparative justice writ large.
NAACP, we decided to take this course of action because we see this course of action be successful in the past. There was a time where Ole Miss would fly the Confederate flag in their stadium. Until in the late 1990s, there was a player who said, I can no longer play for a school that waved the Confederate flag. Within 2 months, the state of Mississippi and Ole Miss took down the flag. The power of our athletes is something that has been not appreciated in recent times. But if you think about the history of the civil rights movement, we've always had athletes to stand up, whether it was Jim Brown, Kareem Abdul, Muhammad Ali. But today it is important not only for those young athletes to stand up, but the parents of those athletes to understand what impact they could have. This CBC did the right thing with blocking the SOLVE Act, so those players would not be exploited on the field. But those parents also must understand that the denial of representation is also a form of exploitation, and their children and those families have decisions to make. And those decisions can be and should be not to play for any state school that would deny representation.
Okay, let me just grab, and I'll swing back over that way. Okay. Yes.
Is this boycott the beginning of something here? Would you all encourage businesses, for instance, to relocate from these states that might redistrict, or Black voters themselves to even leave such states that are redistricting in their region?
All right, y'all. So I'll just pause it right there for another commentary break. And this video, like I said, is just about over. It's only 30 minutes total. And so we got about 5 minutes left of it and it'll be done. Hold on 1 second. So yeah, basically what I was just saying, and some of the points that I wanted to bring out from earlier, is that I do kind of see, two sides of this. I do see the importance and the impact, that the boycott will have. I think it's just basically because, they do have most of the talking points wrapped around school age, like high school, colleges, and their sports programs and athletes are being called, to boycott. But for me, I just felt like, and this is my personal opinion, I think that they should more so call the pro athletes to boycott. And, some of the breakdowns that I gave earlier is those reasons why I think that would be beneficial. Because number one, they have a lot less to lose, right? They have like a cushion that they can fall back on when they boycott or they protest. Just like, what was his name? Colin Kaepernick, is that his name? When he boycotted and took a knee. You're going to be okay. They have a lot of things that they can fall back on. They have these partnerships with athletic sporting companies and deals and brand deals and all of those things. So I feel as though it's not really going to affect them as much. But like I said, like a student that's just graduating high school and getting ready to go to college, and, sometimes colleges are something that, families really, they talk about with their children from a very young age. Like they plan that their entire life, like what college they're going to go to, what curriculum that they're going to choose, what sport they're going to play for that college. And sometimes they have their heart set upon it, and they have a plan for their future or whatnot in their career. And so I do think that is going to, it will make slightly a bit of a difference in some households and with some students. It's a lot of pressure that I feel like can be being put on them, if that makes any sense to y'all. I'm curious to, what y'all think about this, So fair and balanced, right? The CBC and the NAACP calling on the athletes to boycott public colleges. And we know as well that, when it comes to colleges, sometimes, especially when it comes to Black and brown students, it sometimes can be, difficult for even Black and brown students to get into certain colleges, whether they be HBCUs or not. And that's something that has to be taken into consideration as well. Sometimes they are getting scholarships, from these colleges to go to school. And financially, like that is beneficial for some students to be able to get those scholarships because it pays for their education. It pays for them being in the athletic programs that they're in. And they may not have the money to pay at a different school or, I just see it from both sides just because I've talked to a lot of people who have children who are very, embedded in athletics. And don't get me wrong, I think that when it comes to activism, I see a lot of shift and change when it comes to that. We are waking up, we're speaking up, we're standing up, we're doing absolutely whatever is possible to get, the fair treatment that we deserve, right? As Black and brown people, I get that. And I love that activism is starting at a young age for the children, for the youth, right? And the education when it comes to everything that's happening. But that's just one of the things that, I want to just kind of be fair and talk about. I do feel as though it might be a little bit of unfair pressure that could be put on, some of these athletes and their families and the parents. The parents may feel, like, they want to show up and give their activism. They're proud of their children if they decide to show up and give their activism. But there's a lot of other nuances and things that I think, go into that. And it can be for some families and some kids, easier said than done, right? There may be some families that are more, wealthy and they got the money. It's fine. They can pay, to get their child through college. They can afford to, uproot their child from one college and pay for them to go to a different one. But for some families, they may be relying on those scholarships, right? Academic or sports scholarship for their child to be able to attend, college. So I don't know. Hope all of that makes sense. Okay, you was getting what I was saying, Imani, too. You said, I agree with you, Gordon, but Colin Kaepernick did pay a big price and had to sue to get compensation. 47 himself came out against him. Yeah, that is true. He did go through quite a bit of a challenge for that. And I think that too, honestly, may be something that maybe people will see and be paying attention to. It might derive them from wanting to boycott and protest as well, because they've probably seen all of the things that he had to go through, and they may be scared to go through that as well. But let's go ahead and finish up this last 5 minutes of this video and then get into the next topic. We'll be right back.
We are not even 30 days from the Supreme Court decision, and we recognize the harm of this decision. The unfortunate part of the Southern state mentality, as it still stands today, they want to fit us in a 1950s box. We're too big to fit there anymore. And so we will use all we have as long as we need to resist a history that no longer represent this country. We are full citizens. We have died too much. We have bled too hard. We have fought to ensure that a representative democracy exists, not only in New York, not only in Michigan, but across this country and especially in the South. So we will continue to fight. This is the beginning, not the end. And all tools at our disposal, we will continue to leverage to ensure a real democracy for all citizens.
Yes.
Someone there can provide a concrete example of something the SEC or the NCAA could do to get support for the sport.
I'm gonna have Troy. You wanna respond to that?
I think what they can do is they can stand up and start recognizing that our athletes matter and our representation matter, and that as the CEO of NAACP has said, we're going to stand forward and we're going to demand justice for everyone. And it's African Americans today, it's Hispanics tomorrow, it's Asian Americans the next day. Listen, this is very much a we thing. And everyone across the country should feel this way. They should join us if you love fairness, if you love justice, if you love equality, you should join us. All of America should, because it's simply the right thing to do.
Why punish the universities for the lawmakers?
Why punish the representation? See, I reversed that question for you. It's not about punishing the athletes. It's about us defending each other. And it's about us using our collective voices to stand up for what's right.
And athletes have options.
There you go.
Yeah, this is really not a complicated proposition. In the absence of fairness as it relates to Black political representation, there should be no athletic participation as it relates to institutions that are housed in states that are experiencing a dramatic return to racially oppressive Jim Crow-like tactics. These universities should feel compelled to speak up, not because of their athletic programs, because it's the right thing to do here in the United States of America. And we're going to continue to press that case. And these athletes who will make their individual decisions along with their families and their pastors and their community members, we're going to support them. And we know they have options. They have options in terms of football programs. And I don't want to get into who won the last 3 championships in football. They have options as it relates to football. They have options as it relates to basketball, because these are brilliant, talented, God-gifted individuals. And we're just asking them to consider the context right now in terms of what has been unleashed on Black communities in these SEC-dominated states.
Did you have a question?
I'm wondering if any of you can be a little bit more specific about which institutions you might look at next and calling on them to speak out against.
Well, we have a list of the publicly funded Southern campuses.
Are there institutions beyond politics?
You know, that remains to be seen. There are a whole host of institutions across the United States that benefit from the talent, the skill, and the expertise of Black folk across this nation, but particularly in the South. And we're not going to telegraph what our people, how they want to express themselves in this moment. But I can tell you, after seeing 5,000 people show up in Alabama this past weekend, that this movement isn't going anywhere. It's only going to grow.
Thanks, everybody, for being.
All right, y'all. So that's the conclusion of that update in that video. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Like I said, I do believe that, you know, us using what we can for activism in any way that we can to fight back and push back against a lot of these injustices and this poor treatment, and really, you know, let these people know that y'all not about to take us back. Y'all not going to continue to play with us like this. We refuse. We refuse. I think it is a decent protest and boycott. It is. But like I said, I do think it can put a lot of pressure on the younger athletes, and hopefully, you know, the pro athletes will hear about it, and maybe they'll decide, you know, to get their hands in it as well, and, you know, show some of their support when it comes to that. But we're going to just play this song really quick, and after the song, we're going to get into our next topic for the live. We only got 2 more left, y'all, and then we'll be wrapping it up. So thanks for rocking with me. Let's play this song real quick, and we'll be right back.
This for the people still surviving the pressure, still reading between the lines, still asking questions. To the public, then market the cure. Turn pain into profit while the rich get secure. Whole system unstable, but they call it normal. Till the people get loud, now the headlines enormous. Hey, rent high, checks low, food prices jumping. Kids in debt before adulthood coming, and they wonder why the whole generation disrupted. When the truth too ugly, just to dress it up pretty. We don't trust the image, we study the pattern. Every speech sound polished, but the streets say it matter. If justice blind, why the poor feel targeted? Why the rich move reckless and avoid consequences? Look, they built districts crooked and called it political. Cut the school budgets down, but the prisons look beautiful. Every election cycle they rehearse being relatable, then disappear once the cameras ain't available. Healthcare, tied to jobs, now survival employment. Miss one paycheck and the whole life get destroyed quick. Student loans stacking while wages stay tiny. CEOs break records while the workers move blindly. And the media addicted to trauma statistics. Term suffering Bible for audience retention. Everybody screaming but nobody listening. Too much performance and not enough intervention. See, they weaponize language to soften the pressure. Call it economic gaps instead of strategic neglect. Call it urban decay instead of disinvestment. Then blame the community surviving the conditions. Whoop, whoop, that's psychological warfare. Smile in your face while they cutting healthcare. Tell you pull yourself up while they moving the staircase. Whole system gamed up, everybody can see it now. And every time the people speak up, they say we divisive, but silence never changed nothing. They sell fear to the public, then market to cure. Turn pain into profit while the rich get secure. Whole system unstable, but they call it normal. Till the people get loud, now the headlines enormous. Hey, rent high, checks low, food prices jumping. Kids in debt before adulthood coming, and they wonder why the whole generation disrupted. When the truth too ugly just to dress it up pretty. Look. Lobby gets right laws while the voters feel powerless. Corporations on both sides for strategic advantages. That's why every debate feels staged and theatrical. Too many empty promises, packages practical. And they keep us distracted with culture wars daily, while billion-dollar contracts move quietly shady. Tax breaks for the wealthy, budget cuts for the needy. Then they ask why the public don't trust them completely. No accountability, only damage control. Everybody playing roles, but the cracks starting to show. Teachers overwhelmed, mental health overloaded. Young people burnt out before life even started. And the algorithm flood the timeline with division. Outrage get rewarded more than critical thinking. Truth moves slow, but propaganda move instantly. Now missing information spreading professionally. But the people evolving, that's the part they fear. More educated every single year. Now communities talking economics and policy instead of letting politicians shape reality. If freedom only work for certain demographics, that ain't freedom. If justice depend on your income bracket, that ain't justice. And if truth makes power uncomfortable, maybe power deserves questioning. We don't trust the image, we studied the pattern. Every speech sound polished, but the streets say it matter. If justice blind, white and poor feel targeted, while the rich move reckless, then avoid consequences. No fear in the dialogue, no silence in the struggle. We turning pain into pressure, and pressure in the muscle. Hands, eyes open, eyes sharp, heart focused. It's more than music, it's documentation. History never changed because people stayed comfortable. It changed because somebody finally said, enough, 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 enough.
All right, y'all. So thanks for rocking with me with that song break. Okay. So now we're going to go ahead and get into the next topic here. And this is from none other than Roland Martin. We're going to learn a little bit more, right, coming from him. And they did talk about the slush fund a little bit earlier, one of the other topics, but he's going to dig into it and give us a great breakdown of what is really going on with this $1.8 billion slush fund. And he's going to be also getting into this IRS deal that Trump has going on as well. So completely exposing and breaking reports regarding this massive $1.8 billion dark money fund tied to Donald Trump's political apparatus and questionable IRS dealings linked to the events of January 6th. Martin called out the blatant institutional protection of powerful political actors. Imagine an HOA president secretly taking community dues, putting them into hidden bank accounts to pay off legal fees for friends who trashed the neighborhood clubhouse, and getting a quiet pass from the local tax auditor. The effects that this is having on the people is that it breeds immense cynicism. Working class citizens face immediate penalties from the IRS for minor tax errors. So watching billionaires shift billions of dollars to fund political chaos without immediate legal consequences highlights a glaring double standard. So let's go ahead and hear a little bit from Roland Martin as he breaks this down for us, y'all. And I will meet y'all in the chat.
There's nothing like an absolutely despicable, corrupt, pathetic individual like Donald Trump. This fool decided to sue. He decided to sue the IRS because his taxes got leaked, where it showed how he had been cheating, frankly, and barely paying any taxes. So he sued for $10 billion. Knew that wasn't going to fly. So then he decides to create this compensation fund of 1.776, 1776, for the people who were impacted, if you will, by January 6th. The white domestic terrorists who sat here and attacked the Capitol. Now, they're calling this an anti-weaponization fund by saying that these people, oh my God, their lives were ruined and it was just rough on them and they had to hire attorneys and all this sort of stuff like this here. Now, of course, Trump is also mad that Mar-a-Lago was searched by the FBI. Well, because he actually had retained documents that he should not have. Then there's a Russian collusion scandal. So when he was asked about this, frankly, it's a slush fund This is what the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon con man in chief had to say.
The Justice Department has this new fund that was announced today, $1.7 billion.
Yeah.
Why should taxpayers pay for the January?
Well, it's been very well received. I have to tell you, I know very little about it. I wasn't involved in the whole creation of it and the negotiation. But this is reimbursing people that were horribly treated. It's anti-weaponization. They've been weaponized. They've been, in some cases, imprisoned wrongly. They paid legal fees that they didn't have. They've gone bankrupt. Their lives have been destroyed. And they turn out to be right. I mean, it was a terrible period of time in the history of our country. And they worked on it. I know the Justice Department, it's really been working on it very hard. There's been numerous other occasions over the years where things like this have been done. But these were people that were weaponized and really treated brutally by a system that was so corrupt, with corrupt people running it, and they're getting reimbursed for their legal fees and the other things that they had to suffer.
Now, check this out. We also now know, because of this, that the IRS signed a deal with the acting attorney general, Todd Blanche, Trump's former personal attorney, to not do any audits or investigations of Trump, his children, their companies, or any other people related. Excuse me? This is a fund that they can shield from the public. It's a slush fund, pure and simple. And all of these Republicans, quiet. They're quiet because they don't want to hurt his feelings. They don't want to anger him. They know this is wrong. This is beyond atrocious. And I dare say, Larry, that, and some have already said, at the creation of this fund is absolutely grounds for impeachment.
It absolutely is, Roland. And we need to call this what this is. This money, it's reparations. I'm still waiting for my 40 acres and a mule. So I think that with the phrasing, we need to describe it as reparations. That's essentially what's going on. So all these years, and they're telling Black folks that they can't get reparations. Well, individuals who are responsible for trying to overthrow the government, they qualify, and we know why they qualify. But you're right. Look, Roland, this is just one of another thing every single day you could use to impeach the president. But this is corrupt. The other thing is, for people who are watching this here in America, this is unheard of to see a president in this level, in terms of what you're trying to do in terms of monetarily benefit him and his family. But this is what happens in authoritarian governments. And if you understand world history, this happened consistently. And so now here in the United States, we're learning what authoritarians do in terms of, compensating individuals who commit crimes, enriching their families. But once again, this is another example of something illegal that the president is doing. The Republicans are simply turning a blind eye. It was President Obama. It would be a 5-alarm fire, and this would be all over the news, and we would hear about it nonstop.
Not only that, check this out, y'all. This is unbelievable. So this is the thing. They are barring the IRS, Randy, from any past, present, or future investigations. The United States releases, waives, acquits, and forever discharges each of the plaintiffs from, and is hereby forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing any and all claims, counterclaims, causes of action, appeals, or requests for any relief, blah, 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 blah. Are you serious? Like, what? So it's like, oh, yeah, y'all go right ahead. Y'all can cheat on your taxes for forever. Yeah, we're good.
Corruption at the highest level. I mean, it means that for the rest of his life, no, not just his life, everyone in his family's lives, they can commit any crime that would be against the IRS and get away with it and will never be investigated. I mean, when has anybody that you know in this country been protected from being prosecuted should it be needed? It's never happened before. And that these people are so weak that they are allowing this man that much power is absolutely unbelievable. Just when I think I cannot be surprised, I am surprised again, even more. And I really also want to touch on these reparations that these thugs, these criminals are being given, this $1.7 billion that they're being given. And of course, we've never been touched. I think people will focus on what's happening now, but what they need to understand is what he's setting up for the future. He is sending a message to all of his followers that should you act a fool, commit a crime, try to tear apart democracy, attack a building, attack our leaders in 2028, I will protect you. You will not only suffer, you will be well rewarded if you show out like this. I believe he is setting up an army. I really do, to fight these battles as he tries to completely ignore the Constitution.
Folks, Congressman Jim McGovern wanted to add an amendment to stop the slush fund. Republicans refused to even vote for it and would not even allow there to be a debate on it. Listen.
All right, so real quick, y'all, we just want to take a commentary break. So I wanted to basically ask the question because, you know, this may be a question that many of us are asking each other. We're asking every day, right? How can the government constantly tell us that the cupboard is bare for schools, infrastructure, and reparations, but then suddenly pull out this $1.7 or $1.8 billion out of thin air to fund a political project? Let's break a few things down on how this happened, right? Bypassing Congress and voters. So normally, if a president wants to spend $1.8 billion, they have to go through Congress. The House and the Senate have to debate it and vote on it and pass a budget. If Congress says no, the president is stuck. That's why programs for everyday people get stalled for decades. Politicians argue over the budget, but the Trump administration didn't use the standard budget process for this new anti-weaponization fund. They used a backdoor called the Treasury Department's Judgment Fund. And here's exactly what happened step by step. So step one, there's a personal lawsuit. Earlier this year, Donald Trump sued his own government, the IRS and the Treasury Department, in his personal capacity for $10 billion, claiming a contractor leaked his private tax returns. Step two, this is the inside deal. Because Trump is the president, he controls the Department of Justice, the DOJ. So Trump, the plaintiff, negotiated a settlement with Trump's DOJ, led by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche. Step three, the automated payout. Instead of asking Congress for money, the DOJ settled the case by tapping into the Judgment Fund. This is a permanent automatic pot of taxpayer money set aside by law strictly to pay off legal settlements and judgments against the United States government. It requires zero congressional approval. By settling his own lawsuit out of court, nearly $1.8 billion automatically moved from the U.S. Treasury straight into the newly created DOJ commission. So where is the money coming from? That's what everybody wants to know. Let's be 100% clear. It is coming directly from our pockets. The Judgment Fund is entirely funded by American taxpayer dollars. When you pay federal income taxes, a portion sits in that vault to cover the government's legal mistakes. By engineering this settlement, billions of your hard-earned tax dollars are being diverted into an unchecked fund that defense lawyers and political allies are already scrambling to capitalize on. Hey, Jay. So let's listen to some more of Roland, and I'll be right back.
Committee add a new section to the rule providing immediate consideration of H.R. 7711, the No Rewards for January 6 Rioters Act. So this bill would prohibit the use of federal funds to compensate individuals who were prosecuted for their involvement in the attack on the United States Capitol on January 6, 2021. Additionally, my motion would self-execute an amendment that would require the Attorney General of the United States to disclose any payments made by the so-called Anti-Weaponization Fund, which was created by the corrupt settlement agreement between Donald Trump and his own administration. This secret slush fund should be an outrage to every American, no matter your politics. I would urge a yes vote on my motion, and I yield back.
The question is on the amendment. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say no. No. The noes have it. The amendment's not agreed to.
They love the corruption, Mustafa. They love it. They love it. They love it.
They do love it. I mean, I got a tax law book over here. I'm gonna have to take a peek because down the road there's going to be a time when folks are going to have to be able to defend some of these actions inside of court. You know, the other thing that's really mesmerizing is the fact that we've had these black farmers who have been brutalized, who had to go out and get attorneys and weren't able to receive any type of help. So this $1.7 billion could actually go to them because under former administrations, they did not live up to the letter of the law to make sure that these individuals were protected. Well, I see it's going to be incredibly difficult also when these folks go back home trying to get reelected, and you got folks who can't afford to send their kids to school, folks who can't afford to eat, folks who are dealing with inflation, folks who are dealing with a laundry list of things. And you're going to have to be able to justify how you gave their taxpayer dollars away, billions of dollars away. So they do love their corruption. They love their corruption because the courts haven't been doing what they're supposed to do, because Congress hasn't been doing what it's supposed to do. The question becomes, what will the voters do in the midterms?
Well, Larry, the top lawyer of the Treasury Department stepped down moments after this was announced. I am quite sure those two things are connected.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think that's a coincidence. And Roland, we need really, folks working for the Trump administration. Certainly, we need more people to take a stand on this level of corruption, because his family, they've built billions of dollars from the United States government, Treasury, et cetera, various other ways. And so we need more people to take a stand and come out publicly and talk about why they're resigning, not simply resigning, but why they're resigning and the level of corruption they're seeing. And they have to be prepared for whatever repercussions come with that.
And just so we're clear, Randy, the thugs that attacked the Capitol, they're the victims.
Mm-hmm. Right. They're the victims, and the people that were attacked are the ones who did something wrong. That is the way he has framed this. And he talks about the way they were treated horribly, even though these people were found in a court of law to be guilty of the crimes. But this man has no respect for the justice system, except for the one that he's now created and completely running to benefit himself.
Yeah. And then you'll love this one. This is the other thing. Once the funds are deposited into the designated account, the United States has no liability whatsoever for the protection of safeguarding those funds, regardless of bank failure, fraudulent transfers, or any other fraud or misuse of the funds. So basically, if you commit a crime with the funds, it's all good. We know now that one individual who was molesting his children tried to pay them off by saying, I'm about to get paid. I'll pay you from that. So what we know, Mustafa, they've been trying to create this fund for the last year. And Trump, he's full of shit. I didn't know anything about it. Yeah, right.
He most definitely knew about it. I'm sure he's been briefed on it numerous times, was excited because he thinks it's a part of his get back, right? This is the get back and the kickback. The kickback is actually the dollars that are there. One of the things you didn't raise is that there's supposed to also be formal apologies that are also tied to the individuals who will receive these funds, these taxpayer dollars. So we need to make sure that folks understand that is also because Black folks, for all the injustices that we've had to deal with, Indigenous folks, brown folks, a whole bunch of folks in this country have never gotten formal apologies for many of the most egregious things that have gone on. So you got that dynamic. Then, as you just stated, also, you can use this however you want to use it. When you go back and look at the J6ers, There are a whole bunch of them that have been convicted of all kinds of other crimes as well. So it'll be interesting to see those who maybe are still in prison, even though I know most of them have now gotten out, and they will also get broken off with some of these dollars.
Well, here's some reaction to this. Senator Patty Murray questioning Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche.
Now I would like to recognize the Vice Chair of the full committee, Senator Murray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Acting Attorney General, right now, families are paying $4, $5, even $6 or $7 for gas. Inflation is at its highest level in years because of the president's policies. But instead of helping Americans get by, President Trump is literally using their tax dollars to set up a slush fund to enrich his own friends. On Monday, your department settled the president's lawsuit by setting up a fund with $1.8 billion, and you and the president will pick the handful of people who decide how that money gets doled out. So let's be clear. What we're talking about is nothing short of the sitting president of the United States looting from the Treasury for his own gain. Do you seriously think this arrangement is appropriate? The president telling the federal government to settle a case and let him pay billions to the people that he chooses?
What you just described wouldn't be appropriate, and that's absolutely not what happened, and that's not what's happening now. So you just set up a series of facts, most of which were not true.
No,
no, it's not. I mean,
the president has set up a slush fund, however you want to say that it got set up, and he literally will get to choose through his handpicked appointees who gets paid that fund. That is absurd.
The president did not set up this fund. It's not a slush fund. It's been done many times. We have lots of funds.
I heard your response earlier to Senator Van Hollen. This is not comparable to the case that you cited. A judge was not involved. This is the president versus himself setting up a fund.
And the judge wasn't involved in the distribution in the Keep Siegel case at all. It just wasn't. There was a single commissioner that was set up, not five. And so when
the judge signed off on that case.
Yes, it was at a much later point in litigation.
That's my point. That is all of our point. And I just have to tell you, this is corruption that has never been more blatant or more widespread. What is happening is you write the check, Trump and his cronies cash it. American taxpayers who are already being whacked with high prices are going to foot the bill. That's what we are seeing today. And that is what many of us are really, really angry about.
All right. So that was Senator Patty Murray. Then this is the Republican Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, when he was asked about this. I got the impression he really didn't want to have to address this. Listen.
The acting attorney general was up here on Capitol Hill testifying where we got a lot of questions about this new $1.8 billion weaponization fund. A short time ago, the Department of Justice laid out some additional terms of this settlement in terms of the IRS, saying that the IRS is forever barred and precluded from prosecuting or pursuing future examinations of the president. Do you believe this is a legitimate fund, and do you believe those terms are fair?
I think that there are and will continue to be a lot of questions around that the administration is going to have to answer.
Oh, so they're going to have to answer a lot of those things. Okay. All right. ABC's John Carl challenged J.D. Vance on this very issue at the White House, and listen to this lackey.
Eligible to apply for this fund. I mean, you're eligible, but I assume you're not going to apply, and you don't think you should get money out of this fund. Of course. So isn't it just as easy to say that people that attacked police officers should not get taxpayer money from this fund?
Well, look, John, we're not trying to give money to anybody who attacked a police officer. We're trying to give money, not give money, we're trying to compensate people where the book was thrown at them. They were mistreated by the legal system. Sometimes, we do have, John, in this country, innocent until proven guilty. We do have people who are accused of attacking law enforcement officers. That doesn't mean that we're going to completely ignore some of the claims that they're going to make. We're going to evaluate these things on a case-by-case basis. And if we think that somebody, whatever they were accused of, if we think that somebody was unfairly prosecuted and deserves just compensation, then that's what this fund is going to exist to provide. It's just going to correct a wrong, and I think that's a good thing. And I'd encourage everybody, Democrat, Republican, Independent, let's turn the page on this thing that we did under the last administration where we tried to throw people in prison because they had the wrong politics. Let's throw people in prison who broke the law. I think this fund is a good part of getting justice for the people who were wrongly treated.
I'm not confused, Mustafa. Many of them were convicted. They went through the legal system. They were convicted. And in fact, here's what people don't understand about a presidential pardon. The pardon requires for you to admit you actually did not what you're accused of, what you were convicted of, and why you're getting a pardon.
They went in front of a jury of their peers. Americans across the country heard the facts, the evidence, and made decisions if someone was guilty or innocent. And in the vast majority of cases, they were found guilty by the jury of their peers. And that's the part that the vice president and others don't want to call out or highlight, because it's not like, someone was arbitrarily in some federal agency saying you're guilty and that's the end of it. You literally had to go through the same process that a whole bunch of other folks across our country go through when they are accused of breaking a law. And that's, they just don't want you to use your brain. And they think that they can continue to just pull the wool over people's eyes. They can say whatever they say. And the vice president is really good about talking about, and we just need to turn the page, or we need to just move forward. And no, this is serious stuff. It was serious stuff when folks did it. And now it's serious stuff that you want to actually give people hard-earned dollars to compensate them. What are you compensating them for? For beating up police officers, for causing the deaths of police officers, for breaking into federal buildings. If anybody else does those types of things, they're going to go and stand in front of a judge, in front of a jury, and they're going to have to prove their innocence. And if they don't, then they're going to have to pay the price.
Yeah, I mean, it is hilarious listening to these fools. Here's some of the back and forth between the acting AG and Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen.
Let me go back to this slush fund, because there's also an individual who, after being pardoned by the president, went on to molest 2 children. And that person actually tried to buy the silence of these children by saying that he would pay them some of the funds that he was hoping to get from your slush fund. Can you commit to making the rules so that that person is not eligible for a payout under this fund?
Well, you're obviously lying in your question, because there's no way that this person committed to that. But the slush fund, as you call it, which is not, didn't exist.
I'm sure,
but I can commit.
Mr. Attorney General, don't ever do that again. I am reporting what he said. He said on the expectation that he hoped to get some of the funds from a payout. He's been
you said from the slush fund, Senator, and that didn't exist when he said that.
This is the fund that the president and all of you have been telegraphing all along that you're going to use to help the president's friends.
And in fact, they've been negotiating, Randy, for a year to create this. So nice try, Todd Blanche, but you're lying.
Right, and Trump has said that he was going to get his cronies off. He has said, it isn't like he tried to hide it. He has always said that he was going to take care of them. So there's not a question that that man promised, to some money to the families of those children. And let's not act like the Republicans are protective of pedophiles. Let's not act like that they don't have to see some weakness against pedophiles. They've already proven that they don't persecute them whatsoever. So we shouldn't be surprised that they don't seem to care about that either. This was a well thought out plan. Trump has always promised this money. So of course, like any of us would say, I got a settlement coming. We would say that because they knew they were going to get this money. They've been planning for it. So for them to act so surprised now, like Trump saying he had no idea it was going to happen. Of course he did. He told us it was going to happen. It's been in the works.
Absolutely. And so,
all right, y'all. So yeah, exactly. More gaslighting, twisting words. They really are playing in our faces. They continue to play in our face, and they act like we are stupid. We're not stupid. We see this for what it is. And I'm gonna read this through for y'all again, the whole setup, and then I'm gonna give y'all a comparison. Let's just say if it was a regular workplace, right? So here's the setup from jump. Okay, started with the personal lawsuit. Donald Trump sued his own government, the IRS and the Treasury Department, in his personal capacity for $10 billion, claiming that a contractor leaked his private tax returns. Then, because he's the president, he controls the Department of Justice, the DOJ. So Trump, the plaintiff, negotiated a settlement with the DOJ that is led by Attorney General Todd Blanche, his homeboy. And here's the payout. It's automated. Instead of asking Congress for the money, the DOJ settled the case by tapping into the judgment fund. This is a permanent automatic pot of taxpayers' money that gets set aside by law strictly to pay off legal settlements and judgments against the United States government. It requires zero congressional approval. It was a setup, a lineup, y'all. And by settling his own lawsuit out of the courts, nearly $1.8 billion automatically moved from the U.S. Treasury straight into a newly created DOJ commission. Taking it right to the bank, like right to the bank. Slam dunk, stealing right up under our noses. Just stealing. Oh my God. And like I said, it's taxpayers' dollars. It 100% comes from the taxpayers' dollars, the federal income taxes. That goes into the portion that sits in this vault to cover the government's legal mistakes. And by engineering this settlement, billions of those dollars, hard-earned tax dollars, are being diverted into an unchecked fund that defense lawyers and political allies are already scrambling around to get a slice of. Now, let's break this down and how this would look, something a little bit more regular instead of the government and the White House, okay? So an everyday life comparison. Let's talk about like the insurance scam of it all, okay? Here would be the setup. You personally sue your own company because an employee accidentally leaked your private HR file, right? So you sue your own company. Now you need to negotiate. You go into the conference room as this hurt plaintiff, right? And you sit across from the corporate lawyer that you personally hired and can fire at any given moment because it's your company and that corporate lawyer works for you and your company. Now here's how the payout comes. Y'all sit there, y'all look at each other and you say, you know what? Let's settle this. Company, you don't have to pay me directly. Instead, just take $1.8 billion out of the employee's health care and retirement fund and put it in a private VIP club account that I can get to control and distribute as I see fit to whoever I want. If a person did this in business, they would be investigated for corporate fraud and self-dealing. But at the highest level of government, it is being framed as a standard legal settlement. Make that make sense. You can't because it doesn't. It's fraud and it's crime. And this is what they do. This is what he does. This is what they do. And it's just continuing and continuing and continuing with no consequences. Then to turn around and say that you have no money and the taxpayers know that their money is going into that pot over there, but you have no money. The government has no money. They're broke. Yeah, right. They're lost.
We see what's going on here. So it's like, y'all, come on now. We ain't crazy. We ain't crazy. We see what is going on here. All right.
They've been trying to erase black political power since Reconstruction. Now the Supreme Court is helping them finish the job. First came Shelby County versus Holder in 2013, the ruling that gutted the Voting Rights Act. Then came Brnovich in 2021, another ruling, another piece torn away. Now comes Calais, the case civil rights leaders warned could cripple the last major federal protection against racial vote dilution, and within days, Tennessee eliminated its only majority black congressional district. Louisiana, South Carolina, Alabama, the same strategy is spreading across the South. The old Jim Crow used poll taxes and literacy tests. The new Jim Crow uses gerrymandered maps, voter roll purges, polling place closures, and court rulings that make black communities politically invisible. 1965 was Freedom Summer. This is Freedom Summer 2.0, because they are still trying to erase black political power, and we will not bow.
All right, y'all. So that's the end of that video and that topic. I think we have heard and saw enough. We know what it is. We see it for what it is. It's just happening under our nose. And it's like we're asking, who is going to stop this? Like, what are we going to do? Because it is just completely out of control. Completely out of control. It's so illegal. It's so illegal, and he just gets away with it. He just continues to get away with it. And I know it makes people blood boil. I know it makes people angry. If you really fully see it and understand what is going on here, you can't help but get angry. You got to be angry by this stuff. But anyway, y'all, a real quick one, and I mean real quick. This is the last video. It's just about 8 minutes. And this is the final thing, right? More Trump mess. So Trump trying to destroy every element of the Constitution, former Bush advisor. So a former political advisor from George W. Bush administration sounded a dire warning, stating that Trump's actions, ranging from weaponizing federal agencies to threatening democratic norms, look like a systemic attempt to dismantle constitutional guardrails. It is like a tenant moving into a historical apartment building, ripping out the load-bearing walls, rewriting the building lease to benefit only themselves, and threatening to burn the place down if anyone tries to intervene. It creates perpetual political anxiety. When the fundamental rules of the country, the Constitution, are treated as an optional suggestion by powerful leaders, everyday citizens lose a predictable sense of stability, fueling deep fears about the future of civil liberties. So let's go ahead and get into this final video, y'all. After this, we'll be wrapping up the live. So thank y'all so much for rocking with me through all of this. But I told y'all, every day is something. And it's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's a mess. But let's go ahead and get into this video together, y'all. And I'll meet you in the chat.
Conversation about Todd Blanche, former U.S. Attorney and MSNBC legal analyst. Joyce Vance still with us. New York Times Justice correspondent Glenn Thrush still with us, along with former advisor to George W. Bush and John McCain, Mark McKinnon. So, Glenn, I interrupted you mid-sentence, and I apologize for that. Let's get back to the question, which was, walk me through his appearance today on Capitol Hill.
It was extraordinary. And, as I pointed out, Chris Van Hollen, the ranking Democrat on the committee, pointed out that Blanche is is Trump's former defense lawyer and accused him essentially of acting in that capacity. And Blanche, apart from his outrage, didn't have much of a response to that. And then I should just say, in the subsequent couple of hours since Blanche left, the Justice Department slipped onto its website this extraordinary document in which they are essentially inoculating. It's very hard to understand, but it appears that by the terms of the agreement, the settlement of this case, that the Justice Department is using this as an opportunity to essentially inoculate Donald Trump, his family, and all of his family-owned businesses from again, it's vague, but it appears from past, present, or future tax prosecutions.
So
It's just it's breathtaking what they're doing right
that
now.
struck me, and here's why it struck me, because you on the one hand have, and Joyce, I want you to tell me if I'm getting any of this wrong, because you're the lawyer here. But on the one hand, you have Vance saying on the White House podium that Donald Trump is not going to get any money from this $1.776 billion fund. Not going to get any money. But when you slip in, as Glenn pointed out, this note that indemnifies, I guess, the Trump organization and Trump himself from issues about tax in the past, does that mean that what they're saying is your taxes, as Trump has said, have been under audit or alleged to be under audit for years now? Are they now not going to potentially go after unpaid back taxes? Or any discrepancies in taxes they might have uncovered? So he's not getting the money from the fund, but he might be saving some money in this other way?
So look, Donald Trump just got the one thing that most legal experts agree, that even with his expansive view of the power he has as president, that he can't do for himself, and that's give himself a pardon. This would seem to say that he's off scot-free. There's never been any indication, Katie, that his tax audit was a criminal sort of a setting. And I've seen nothing that indicates that. So I think it's remarkably interesting that they pursued this get out of jail free card as part of the settlement of this civil action. It is astounding. I thought that when we saw the creation of the $1.776 billion judgment fund to benefit Trump's friends and family from January 6th, that we couldn't see any worse form of corruption. But this is really continuing to put some meat on those bones.
What about the optics of this, Mark? 1.8 billion, I'm going to just round up, for anybody that says they've been politically persecuted by the administration and then gets approved by this 5-person panel, which who knows who they're going to be. At the same time that prices across the country are rising, costs are rising, and Americans are saying that Donald Trump doesn't care about them.
Well, doesn't care about them. It doesn't really seem to care about the politics of it all, which, ultimately won't affect him if he's not running for a third term, which we're not even clear about that. But the whole thing, Katie, just strikes me as so incredibly diabolical. This is like they took an AI bot and just said, go see what you can do to destroy the Constitution and anything else that will help Donald Trump, financially or otherwise, and his friends and his donors and the J6 rioters. It's so astonishing that I think it leaves so many of us slack-jawed that you could even imagine something like this. Now, my hope is that somehow there's something left in our Constitution that will ultimately prohibit this in some fashion. But I'm also thinking that the one thing we've got to seriously consider with the new Congress or new president, we've got to rewrite the Constitution. Because it's as if Donald Trump came into office and just said, I'm going to see what I can do to destroy every element of the Constitution possible. And he's doing a pretty good job.
Well, what we've learned, Glenn, we've talked about this a lot, is that there are a lot of norms that presidents operated under and the agencies operated under that were just norms. They were practices that were in place because people were not, you're really not supposed to do these things. It doesn't look good. Politically, it would hurt you in the past. It's not moral. It's not right. They're norms. I think Mark has a great point there.
Well, look, I remember talking to some of the Garland people at the end of 2024 about what they were concerned about. What would be the indications that the Trump Justice Department were going to be shredding the rule book? And essentially they said there's something called the Justice, which prescribes prosecutorial behavior. And they're like, look and just see if it vanishes from their website. Well, interestingly, it hasn't, but it doesn't matter because they've completely ignored it. I think, Mark talks about constitutional reform. I think what we're also dealing with here in between norms and the Constitution are statutes. And the problem here is we have a Congress, Republicans in Congress, who have not exercised their Article 1 authority over the president. I think what was very interesting is now that their political future is somewhat detached from Trump's, and Trump does not apparently give a damn about their own their own fate apart from being perceived as a kingmaker, right? I think what you're starting to see is an understanding and an attempt to push back a little bit. It was noteworthy that John Thune, the majority leader in the Senate, said he was not a quote unquote not a fan of this fund.
Yeah, but still,
He
it's
also
so
right.
It's so limp, you know. It's not.
No, it is, but it is.
It's the beginnings
for him,
of it.
That's like shouting from that's like using a bullhorn. And when Thune is usually the last one to come forward with this stuff. So what that indicates to me as a recovering and scarred Hill reporter is that a lot of these senators who were getting chased down the hallway by reporters being asked this question went to Thune and said, please, sir, address this so you can take some of the heat off of us. You saw John Kennedy from Louisiana raise questions about this. Rand Paul has come out against it. Not surprisingly, I think Cassidy, who just got defeated in Louisiana, is a no on this. You're going to see Murkowski, Collins, et cetera. The one thing is, like, I'm not anticipating Republicans rebel against this, but there's a lot that can happen legislatively. Riders put on appropriations bills. So I wouldn't necessarily assume that this thing is going to go forward without a glitch.
Yeah. And Joyce, one more question about norms. One of the what hinges on the immunity decision that the Supreme Court made a couple of years ago regarding Donald Trump is that a president interacting with his AG, which is now immune, that a president will interact properly, that the president is the kind of person who will interact properly and hold himself to standards that the founders envisioned, and not just try to do whatever he wants and use the Justice Department as his own personal law firm and direct them publicly, which we saw with Pam Bondi, to go after people that he thinks wronged him.
This president has blown past that norm so many times that, frankly, I've just lost track. I don't think it's unfair to characterize the top leadership at the Justice Department as Donald Trump's personal law firm. And I understand that the acting attorney general took umbrage at that characterization today. But the reality is that Todd Blanche is auditioning for the permanent gig. He is the acting attorney general. And no one who's serving in that role should have as their North Star an effort to please the president, an effort to win the permanent job for themselves. And yet that is absolutely the world that we're living in. The norms don't even exist anymore. I mean, I hear Mark saying that we need to rewrite the Constitution. It seems to me that the first thing that Congress needs to do when it gets its act back together is take some of the norms and turn them into laws.
All right, y'all. So there it is. There we have it. Lord, you got to take a deep breath sometimes after you listen to all of this, because you just can't believe that it's true. You really cannot believe that this is where we are right now and what we're going through. But you know what? It is what it is. We can't pretend we don't see it. We can't pretend we don't know what is going on and how it affects us. We have to just keep ourselves educated, keep ourselves motivated, keep talking, keep exposing it. We're going to be all right, y'all. We're going to make it through all of this. We really, really are. But yeah, you got to bring it to the forefront sometimes. So that's all I got on this one, y'all. Stay tuned, because we'll be back very shortly with something a little bit more light and a little bit more fun away from the political stuff. But thank y'all for rocking with me on this live. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope some information you got was useful to you. I will talk to y'all shortly. We're going to end it with a bop per usual. And yeah, that's all I got on that. So I'm out for now. Bye.
What happened to us? How did survival become the only thing we teach? How did pain become inheritance? like I do. Nah. Golden. She moved through the city with her hair held high. Pretty brown skin with a storm inside. Everybody see the glow, they don't know the pressure. Smile so warm, but her heart no weather. Late nights riding while the skyline blur. Trying not to cry when the memories occurred. Had to learn fast, everybody ain't loyal. Some people love you long as they control you. Now she move careful, energy expensive. Too many fake vibes hiding in the friendship. Used to give love with her hands wide open. Now every scar got the whole vibe frozen. They don't know her like I. No, they don't know her like I. She goes by golden. Soft voice, deep soul, hope or glowing. She goes by golden. City lights dancing with her heart stay open. Long dark roads, but she still stay focused. Everybody watching, but they don't really know. She goes by golden. Too much grace with the games they throwing. Real love, rare soul spirits, they got it. Beautiful soul, but the pain left marks in it. Mirror tell the truth when the lights go dim. All the things she carry weight heavy within. She survived nights she don't even speak on. Still finding peace while the whole world ain't wrong. Funny how the love disappear when you're healing. Funny how the fate come around when you win. Now she trusts God more than people intend. Just cause smiles hot and being hidden the big. She's still soft-hearted but she way less naive. Can't keep pouring love where there's nothing received. Still dancing slow through the hurt and confusion. Trying not to lose herself chasing illusions. She survived the fire. Still glowing through the smoke. Still still dangerous. Still chosen. She goes back golden. Snow so deep made the whole room notice. Heavy lies couldn't break what was chosen. Still standing tall while the whole world folding. She goes back golden. Heartbreak turned to pensimatic. Now the tears got rhythm when she's singing. And they still don't know her like that. They still don't know her like that. Spend too much time looking for love in strangers. Spend too much time. Spend too much time letting outside voices shade the mirror. But at the end of the night, when the lights fade, when the city cried, when the tears dried, we still got